shouldn't give him no life. They should just give him certain time and then come back home. They shouldn't give him no life.
The jury have spoken, the judge have spoken, and we now look forward to the Court of Appeal.
Vybz Kartel is freedom at all possible. Take this journey with us through the current situation of the life of dancehall entertainer Vybz Kartel.
So I tell the jury, Jah control me destiny.
What's you wanted in connection with a murder? You have anything to say before the court goes any further?
Those who left it to the God and today.
Back in the courtroom, Justice Lennox Campbell sentenced Kartel and his 3 co-convicts to life in prison. Adidja Palmer is to serve 35 years before he becomes eligible for parole. Andre St. John, 30 years. And Sean Campbell and Kyra Jones, 25 years.
The wickedness that we're about to deserve that. If they deserve that. 35 years, them say. If they deserve it, the hard labor wickedness that. They don't file this, they don't know about it. The police that appear right now. Wickedness that.
On June 16, 2024, Vybz Kartel and his legal team will be attending a hearing at the Jamaican Appellate Court to find out whether or not Vybz Kartel will have a retrial along with his co-accused, or they won't have a retrial. That is coming from a ruling that was made by the Privy Council of England to have the men's conviction quashed. Quashed in that sense simply meant that the convictions of the men were overturned and that they were no longer deemed as convicted criminals. However, as it relates to the charges that were laid on the men, the charges are still there. The charges still remain.
We will be fighting in the Court of Appeal to tell that court that in all the circumstances, it would not be in the interest of justice for Sean Campbell to be placed on a retrial.
And to be clear, the Privy Council hasn't said that there must be a retrial. The Privy Council is saying, let the Jamaican Court of Appeal decide whether or not there should be a retrial.
Right. The appeal, but it's not a shame on our court. The court has brilliant judges. It's just that this time they got it wrong.
This time they got it wrong.
This time
do you hope that they'll get it right the next time? Do you foresee that?
No comment.
You did ask for options though, and there are really only 2.
There should be a retrial or there should not be a retrial. We can't say which of the 2, but whomever is to argue on behalf of Sean Campbell will be arguing strenuously that based on a number of factors, there ought not to be a retrial.
See, she tells you better than I can.
You don't want a retrial. That's what it sounds
It's not going to happen.
So
in the meantime, Mrs. Llewellyn told Nationwide News Network that the prosecution would be obliged to request a retrial given the strength of its case. The Court of Appeal is set to decide if Vybz Kartel and his co-accused should face a retrial for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams.
Supporting Vybz Kartel and Adidja Palmer. So this is like what them do to Jesus. So England wash your man clean of it. The King of England wash your man clean like what they did to Jesus. Yes, and so Paul and Louis now is carrying out a witch hunt. I would have said a man hunt. What she's carrying out?
Vybz Kartel and his legal team, along with his co-accused, is hoping for the best and not for a retrial, as a retrial will take a lot more resources, both from the legal teams and also from the prosecutors of the government. So it is in their best interest that they're hoping for that this case will be thrown out. If it is that they go to a retrial, is it that the legal team of Vybz Kartel and his co-accused can now go ahead and make room for a bail application? Recently, Vybz Kartel and his legal team made an application for habeas corpus, Habeas corpus is to find out, or basically bring the person to court to find out if they are illegally or unlawfully detained. Just a few hours ago, the judge, Ms. Thomas, made a ruling on the habeas corpus to say that the men were not unlawfully detained and that the convictions, clearly she stated, was overturned by the Privy Council, but the charges are still there. So, whether or not the men will answer to these charges, it is up to the appellate court in Jamaica to make that ruling. So, on June 16th, Vybz Kartel and his legal team will be heading to the Jamaican appellate court to get that understanding as to whether or not there will be a retrial or his case will be thrown out and Vybz Kartel will be set free.
He say, lawyer, how it look? Him shake him head and kiss him teeth and whisper, if you get no bail, it's done before this week.
Happen. Dion, good afternoon. Can you just sum up for us what happened in court and why the men were not released?
Okay, well, I'm actually, the judge left the courtroom just a short while ago. I'm actually waiting to get a written copy of the judgment because she gave quite a detailed breakdown of her reasons. As you said, in short, Kartel and his co-accused will not be released before the Court of Appeal has decided whether there's going to be a retrial or not. So the judge looked at a number of issues. She started out by looking at the issue as to whether the decision of the Privy Council that their convictions had been quashed and that the Court of Appeal was to decide on a retrial, did that translate into an order for them to be released? And she decided that that did not, in fact, so translate. She looked at whether or not the appeal had been determined, and her decision was no, the appeal has not finished. It is not going to be finished until the Court of Appeal makes its final decision. Since the appeal has not been determined, therefore, she said that the men are in fact being held lawfully in custody because the Commissioner of Corrections has not received any order from any court to release them. She looked at the issue of whether the charges remain and decided that, yes, the charges are still valid. So the men are still charged. Having looked at that, she then looked at whether, in fact, they would be eligible for bail. So she looked at the new Bail Act, and she looked at the fact that the Bail Act says that to be eligible for bail, while you are waiting for your appeal to be decided, you would have to have been on bail before you were convicted. These men were not on bail before convicted. She also pointed to another provision in the Bail Act that says that people who have been convicted for murder are in any case not in the category of people who could be considered for bail pending appeal. So as a result, they wouldn't be eligible for bail. She then looked at the fact that this was a habeas corpus application. Habeas corpus literally means bring the body. So bring the body before the court. It's usually used in circumstances where people are being unlawfully detained. And she said a habeas corpus application like this can't be used to circumvent the proper processes of the court. And that in this particular case, the only court who can make a decision at this time in relation to the liberty of these men is the Court of Appeal, because that is where the matter now is. So in short, Milton, to end as we began, no, the men, Kartel and his co-accused, are not going to be released before the decision of the Court of Appeal.
And if there should be a retrial?
There won't be, so we're not going to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Leave that one alone.
Okay.
I only speak positive things into the universe.
If you're being unlawfully held, unlawfully detained by the state, you can make an application for habeas corpus, and if that application is successful, you're released immediately. And that is what Kartel and his lawyers and the other men and their lawyers were hoping for. They were arguing that following that Privy Council ruling in March, that the men were no longer convicted of anything. They were also arguing that the men were no longer charged with anything, and therefore that they were being held unlawfully.
But the judge decided that to reject the application. Why?
The judge rejected the application because, first of all, she looked at the process. She said the appeal process wasn't over because the Privy Council made, you might say, half a ruling. The Privy Council decided on the convictions, quashed the convictions, threw them out. But then the Privy Council said the Jamaican Court of Appeal must decide whether or not the men should be retried. And therefore, that because the appeal was still continuing, all the laws in relation to this type of situation said that the charges were still in place. The law spoke about new trials, not new charges. So the judge said it was therefore logical to conclude that the men were still on the same murder charges. Having said that, since the men were on a murder charge, she said their status then would be what it had been before the trial when they were in custody. Since that was the current situation, it couldn't be said that the Commissioner of Corrections or the prison superintendent had been acting unlawfully by detaining them because they hadn't got any new order from a court to say the men should be released.
Social media was buzzing with excitement, and we knew that persons would want to converge upon this location, just to get a glimpse of their artists. Today is a regular court date, and we take the extra precaution to ensure that we create a safe environment for those who seek to transact business upon the courts today without impediment. So that was the main reason for all the extra security that you saw.
Vybz Kartel and his co-accused are no longer considered to be convicts, as their convictions was overturned by the Privy Council of England. However, the charges for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams is still there hanging in the balance. So on June 16, they will find out whether they will have a retrial or not, and that is based on charges for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams.
Right now, we are going to do it all our cartel fans that can do half and half 1 year each to cartel. Just feel it get free.
How much share do for you?
We are the two.
I do more you do here for him?
No, I'm not doing nothing. You are no cartel fans, man. You are no cartel fans.
Crying because of the cartel mother. Talk to me now, what's happening? You're sad, right?
I am so sad.
Why are you sad? Why are you sad? But what about you? What were you expecting to happen today?
No worry about free general.
June 10 today. It's about to happen, but it's not happened yet. The boss has said about no response right now. You see?
When you see him, how him look, Chief? How did he look? How did he look? Vybz Kartel, was he in high spirits or? No comments?
What's going on for the general in there? No respect. No, no comment right now.
No comment
no
right
comment, but right now he knows him about to be free. You see, but him now no comment for good right now.
And court is done for the day, right, Chief?
We know you're working hard for the general.
So as he tell the jury, Jack control me destiny.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.